Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum dear students. It's me Muhammad Zubair Khan and welcome to the third week. Today we will discuss the different components of the frequency distribution. As you know that in previous week we studied the frequency distribution. That was the first tabulated form that we studied in the previous class in the previous week. So this is the first lecture of the third week for statistic 1 SII exercise. So the first component that we are going to discuss for the frequency distribution, that is the class limit. Before to start the class limit, let me tell you about the frequency distribution. Frequency distribution, as I mentioned in my previous lecture, that frequency distribution basically the distributed form of the frequency in different groups or classes. For example, if we see here we have a group from 5 to 9, then we have another group from 10 to 14, then we have another group from 15 to 19. These are called groups or these are called classes. So when we have the frequencies, frequency means number of items, elements of the data. You can call it elements of the data or you can call it number of items or you can say the elements which are existing in a data, the components of the data. So suppose we have one element falling in the first class, two elements we have in the data falling in the second class, three elements we have in the data falling in the third class. This is basically the distribution of elements in different classes. They are called what? Frequency distribution. Now we need to understand, because we will face again and again in upcoming classes in statistic, basically we will face again and again the frequency distribution. That's why you need to understand all the components of the frequency distribution. So when we have a frequency distribution like the tabulated form, frequency distribution मतलब ची असी एक टेबल अस्त. अगर शमा एक टेबल दारी बई रकम कि classes या groups दारा व frequency दारा. So it means that you need to understand the different components of this frequency distribution table. So the first component that we have, that is class limit. Class limit means the starting and ending point of each class is called class limit. The starting point and ending point of each class is called class limit when the classes are in discontinuous form. The classes are in discontinuous form means that when the classes are not continuous form, there is no continuity. What is the difference between continuity and discontinuity? Let me tell you. If the class is starting from 5 with equal gap and it's up to 9, so this is the first class. Then if we start another class from 10 and we have equal length, equal gap up to 14, then if we have 15 up to 19, then if we have 20 up to 24, these are called the class limits. This is the lower class limit and this is the upper class limit. The starting point of each class is called lower class limit and the ending point of each class is called upper class limit. This 10, this is also lower class limit, 15 lower class limit, 20 lower class limit, 25 also lower class limit. Then we have upper class limit 9, then 14 upper class limit, 19 upper class limit, 24 upper class limit, 29 upper class limit. So these are the lowers and upper class limit. Lower class limit, starting point of the class, starting point of the group. Upper class limit, ending point of the group. Then we have another. So we have separate groups, separate classes. If you see 5 to 9 separate class, juda juda. From 10 to 14 another separate class. From 15 to 19 another separate class. So if we have the classes in separate form, if we have the classes in discontinuous form, we can say that the classes are in class limit form. The classes are in class limit form, and you need to understand the difference between the class limit and class boundaries, because you will face these kind of problems in upcoming classes if you don't know about the class limit and class boundaries. So first of all, you need to understand in a frequency distribution, this is the first element of the frequency distribution, that you need to understand that what is class limit. So it's very much clear, student. The starting point of each class and the ending point of each class are called class limit. The starting point is called lower class limit. The ending point is called upper class limit. And you will continue it like this. After that, we have class boundaries. Class boundaries, it's a little bit difference between the class limit and class boundary. You need to understand. Again, we have the same definition if you see. The starting and ending point of each class is called what? Class boundaries. If the class is in continuous form. Here we have discontinuous form, here we have continuous form. Continuous form means that when we have the classes like this, that if there is a repetition between the classes, look at the starting point. If a group or class is start from 5 up to 10, so we have of a class, the first one, then we have another one, but it start from here from 10 to 15, then from 15 to 20, then from 20 to 25, then from 25 to 30. So there is a repetition, there is a zigzag relation between amongst the classes. If there is a zigzag relation amongst the classes, so this is called lower class boundary, and this is called upper class boundary. The starting and ending point of each class are called class boundaries if the classes are in continuous form. If the ending point of the first class is the starting point of the next one. So there is a relation. Look at, there is a repetition. You need to understand this difference, and this is very much important. How we can convert the class limits into class boundaries. So this is also important to understand, that you can convert the class limit into class boundaries. Just only add 0.5 to upper class limit and subtract 0.5 from lower class limit. How? Look at, if we have if we have the class limits and we need to convert them into class boundaries, so we have class limits. For example, if we have 5 to 9, 10 to 14, 15 to 19, these are in discontinuous form, but if we convert them into class boundaries, C dot B means class boundaries. So we will subtract 0.5 from 5, it will become 4.5. We will add 0.5 with the upper class limit, so it will become 9.5. Then if you subtract again 0.5 from 10, so it will become 9.5. It will become 14.5. It will become 14.5, and it will become 19.5. Now if you see, there is a repetition. The ending point of this class is the starting point of the next one. The ending point of this class is the starting point of the next one. So by this way you can convert the class limits into class boundaries. These were the two basic components of the frequency distribution. The first one was class limit. The starting and ending point of each class is called class limit. The starting point is called lower class limit. The ending point is called upper class limit when the classes are in discontinuous form like this. And class boundaries, these are the second form of the classes. The starting and ending point of each class are called class boundaries if the classes are in continuous form like this one. You can convert, the third point is, we can convert the class limits into class boundaries by subtracting 0.5 from the lower class limit and adding 0.5 to the upper class limit. So we can convert the discontinuous form into continuous form, because you will need this conversion in the upcoming classes. So this was the lesson for the day, and I will give you the assignment also related to this one. that how you can convert the class limit into class boundaries. So you will do practice on that assignment. Thank you very much. Khudafis.